How's it going, everyone? My name is True Underdog, and today we'll be looking at Spawn a little bit early. I'm actually surprised at how few people are covering this, so we finally have a full body look at Spawn, and no, it's not this rendered image right here. I'm saving it a little bit. For anyone who's not aware, I am a huge comic book fan. There is so much of my brain that is wasted recalling things from comic books, a bunch of facts that are obscure and don't serve any importance in real life, but I know them and they're stuck in there. And Spawn himself was definitely a very big part of my childhood. I'm one of the few people who actually loves that Spawn Armageddon video game. Just because it has Spawn and I have crazy huge guns, I can use the chains and the cape and his giant axe, which is actually his cape as well. That game was crazy fun to me because that's just the kind of fan I am. And once again, I was also a kid, so don't hate on me too much. But now on to the main meat of this video. So it's no secret that Todd McFarlane has a contract with Mortal Kombat 11 and NetherRealm. As a result, he's had several action figures that look just like their in-game counterparts, and it's the same for Spawn. However, the action figure for Spawn has already been leaked, so if we look at that, chances are it mirrors how he looks in-game. And going off of this CGI image, which was revealed at the final Kombat trailer, that definitely does seem to be the case. So without any further ado, let's have a look at that action figure. Alright, and here we go. Look at those points of articulation. I actually do want to buy this, not going to lie. It would look really good back there. I gotta buy some shelves. That wall is too far away. It makes that scorpion head look tiny. But I think Spawn would look fantastic somewhere in my setup, which is still a work in progress, trying to get the studio to look nice and good. And I think Spawn would go a long way towards helping that. And there are several things I want to point out about this figurine right away. One thing, the boot. So depending on who is drawing Spawn, he doesn't always have the boot, and sometimes this boot is so big that you can't even see his foot. It's like a gigantic club. You would think he was missing everything from the shin down, but no, it's just a gigantic covering. Now, is there any point to that for combat? Maybe not, but Todd McFarlane has always been style over substance, and I love him for it. Not gonna pretend Spawn doesn't have a really cool and rich backstory, he definitely does. And the stories themselves can actually get pretty darn deep, but at the end of the day, it's all about that style. Look at his fashion, he's so awesome. He also has the gauntlet right here, and of course these can probably be changed with the gear pieces. I imagine his cape might be one of the gear pieces, this boot might actually be one as well. His chains could be also kind of like Cetrion. I'm hoping they're not because they're just chains, and this gauntlet might also be customizable, maybe as a gun. Spawn uses tons of guns in the comics, which you think he wouldn't need, but once again, I think it's that style factor. It's just so cool to see this awesome dude also wielding some really rad guns, and I think that's the idea. And one more important thing to note is that Spawn is rocking the full black suit, at least in this default costume. I really do hope there's a vintage color scheme where he has the dark blue and the red undertones. I always loved that as a kid. Okay, time for an obscure comic book fact. So back in the day, it was actually tough for the printers to do gray, so instead the artist would color a black character with a dark blue or purple, something of that nature, and then of course the inker would do all the darker shades. And as a result, you had characters like Venom looking blue for decades despite him being described as a black suit over and over again, but you still had the blue sheen, the blue highlight. And Spawn was the exact same, and sometimes he didn't even have the dark shading, he was just blue and darker blue. He didn't even have much of the ink. And I really do hope we have at least one color scheme that is vintage like that because I will rock it. I want the dark blue up here, and I want the dark blood red down here. It looks so awesome and I want it. And I also just realized this weapon is likely giving something away too. This could also be a gear piece for Spawn. Now typically Spawn has wielded an axe, and this axe is actually his cape. It transforms into the axe. The cape is alive, can turn him invisible, all that crazy stuff. But here he has a sword. And I feel like a bit of an idiot because I don't know what this sword signifies. But then again, I haven't read any of the recent Spawn issues, just the old school stuff from the 90s. So I'm not entirely sure what this sword represents outside of a possible gear piece, and if that's the case, that makes me very hype. Spawn already has the chains, he can fire his necroplasm stuff at you, and once again, he can also turn invisible, so those of you reptile fans, you might have your invisible character with Spawn. Now it could possibly only be a custom ability, it's only available in custom matches, but even so, that would be really hype, right? You can finally turn invisible. It could also be his teleport as well. The cape wraps him up, he goes invisible and appears somewhere else. That could be awesome, I would love that. And one more fun fact about Spawn for anyone who's not aware, he does in fact bleed green. In fact, sometimes his green blood glows much like the Predator. So if you want to not get demonetized, you can just do combo videos on Spawn because he will bleed green. Now I'm wondering what the x-rays will look like because I'm pretty sure his skull and everything is still human, but all the meaty bits might still be green. That's going to be bizarre because in the comics he's not really He is himself because he's still burned like when he died, but for whatever reason he still bleeds green, and as a result you'd think the muscle tissue and everything else would also be green, but his skin is still kind of like Deadpool. He looks really gross just for a different reason. Doesn't have cancer, he's just burned head to toe, and he looks almost the exact same as Deadpool. In fact, for the longest time as a kid, I thought Deadpool was also burned alive because he looked just like Spawn to me. So in summary, I think Spawn looks really dope. I'm so happy he has the giant club on his foot. I love the gear style they went with. This is my favorite iteration of Spawn. The only thing I want is a different color scheme that's a bit more classic, and this being a possible gear piece has me very hype, but I would much prefer the axe, so I'm hoping we can change it to be an axe or a sword. That would be amazing. But please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, because that's about it for this video. Please leave a like if you enjoyed. It's certainly a gift to have an early look at how Spawn will most likely look in-game. And then why not keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell? That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.